Okay, here we are in Key West. I am at work at Lazy Dog, and we have Hurricane Milton, which is going to pass us off to the west, but because of the direction it's coming, we just need to be a little bit more cautious and hunker down a few things here, paddleboards and kayaks, and get the shack here ready for any kind of storm surge. And then winds, maybe about 60-mile-an-hour winds or gusty 60. We'll see. The storm track keeps changing, but like I said, it's not going to hit Key West. But we had a storm in 2005, Hurricane Wilma, and we didn't really prepare for it because it was just offshore, about 75 miles to the west of us. But because it was out on the west side, there's no reef. There's nothing there to stop the water from just being pushed up over the island. And we had about 8 feet over the island there. So anyone who's gone through Wilma we're a little bit more cautious on storms on that side. So what we're going to do today, actually, well, yesterday we took down the awnings. We usually have those little shade awnings here. What we do is we keep one end wrapped. You can see here, and you can see here. We keep these wrapped so when we want to put them back up, it's just putting up the 2 other hooks, and the other hook stays where it is. And then the kayaks, we actually have them always piled together and tied up together front and back. And then I tie an extra line around this pole right here just so they don't go floating off, all 25 of them together. This rack is interesting. So this rack, we have all our singles up top. We'll do the same thing. Go ahead and tie them all together, and then tie it every now and then around this so that they stay put. And then I'm going to take the paddle boards here and put them, I'm going to squeeze them in here so we can just kind of hunker them in. Just the paddle board standing up, they're kind of, the wind, and if we do get storm surge here, we had a king tide the other night, and the water came up to about here, halfway up to our shack. So there are times with the king tide that we actually have to walk through the water to get to our floating dock. So we just want to be careful and be aware of that. So I don't know, if the water came up a couple feet, who knows what would happen to these paddleboards. So we're going to tuck them in to the kayaks. During Hurricane Wilma, when I was telling you about that in 2005, we had water, like I said, about 8 feet of water up on the island. And this whole rack with all these kayaks lifted up and went all the way down. I'll show you here. So that rack, all the way down there. So it all stayed together. All the kayaks were together, but it did get picked up and floated away. So I don't mind that as long as they all stick together. So there we go. The life jackets here. This thing just fell over the other day and we haven't quite fixed it. So we're gonna actually take all the life jackets off and put them in a shack. We have 2 shacks here, one for gear and one is our office. It's like little 10 by 10 buildings there. And then we'll go ahead and put all those in there, and then probably just drop that down so it won't get caught up in the wind. We get rid of all the things like buckets, anything that can float away. This I had built. I didn't realize when we had this built. This thing you can hardly move, the picnic table. So that thing won't move. We've got chairs and things like that. Anything that's going to float away or blow away, we'll put in our shack. And then we also have our Lazy Dog charter boat here. So what we usually like to do is gas it up before we have a storm, just in case for any reason we can't get gas for a couple days or a week, so after a storm sometimes. So I always wanted to prepare and gas up. They were closed today, so we couldn't gas up, but we did. So we just took down the awning here, and that's all down. And this is a floating dock. Our boat's attached to a floating dock, so we'll keep an eye on that. And I'll come up here every now and then. I'm not too far from work, and we'll go ahead and check on things. So all right, well, we're gonna get to work and do a few things, and then I'll come right back to you. Okay, 2 sweaty hours later, we're all locked up. So we took the paddle boards out of the rack on this side. On the back side, actually have a look here. You can see we've got trees and stuff, so the backside is pretty protected. And we took all the life jackets off of here and put them in one of our shacks. All the kayaks are locked down from the front and the back under this fire here. And then we put as many paddle boards as we could in the kayak rack, tied them up front and the back. They're tied to each other, they're tied to the rack. And then we've got this pile here. We get storm surge, they're all tied together and also to the rack. I did tie our paddle rack up here, and I've got rid of all little bits and pieces that could fly, right? And then we've got all this stuff here. We got our big boxes. These are our paddle boxes for kayak paddles and for paddleboard paddles. But we also filled them up with a lot of life jackets and a few other things. So I think we're all good to go here. And the shack is all locked down. We have a little protection here for water getting in, but for some reason, even last night in the rainstorm, things got soaked. So we have towels on the other side. We actually duct taped the other side. I should take you in there, right? Sure. I got keys. There we go. Hang on. Super secret lock. Up in here. So if you can see here, we actually have the towels, but underneath we have duct tape here, and we actually duct taped the seams because this is wood. It warps all the time, so there's lots of little holes and things. And then we've unplugged some things, unplugged a few things there, raised everything up off the floor here, as you can see. We took out the first couple layers of t-shirts down here in case we get some surge. And I just kept the extra line here in case I have to come during the storm and tie anything up a little bit more. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's ready to go. I'm actually taking the iPad, which is our register, and a few other things, our other pads, tablets that we use here, and all the cash. So anyway, there we go. We're all set. And this is what we do for hurricane prep. But like I said, we're doing it this time, even though the hurricane's offshore from us. We are doing it more for a storm surge than anything, because storms that come out of the Gulf, they tend to bring a lot more storm surge to Key West than the Atlantic side. So everybody stay safe, and we'll see you on the other side of the storm. All right, so the storm has passed us off to the west and the north. And yeah, just coming up by the shop here and just making sure everything's all right. Ooh, yeah, look at me. Gusty. Come on, buddy, come here. Jack's with me. Checking things out. Everything looks good. Boy, I mean, we had 0 rain for the most part. It's been unbelievable how dry it is for a storm. Shack looks good. Yeah, shack looks good. But yeah, so totally dry, no rain, no puddles. It's unbelievable. I don't remember ever being through a storm where we had no rain. And then the boat looks good. Boat. Closed for the day. Take that anyway, you never know. Alright, boat looks good, everything looks good. Let's go home and have a cup of tea. Jack's, right? Coconuts. What are you gonna do? Alright, so everybody stay safe, and we'll see you back here in Key West once we open. We'll get out on the water. Okay, so the shack is put together and we are open for business. Alright. We actually were able to get in a tour this afternoon. The wind died down pretty quick once the storms leave. It usually ends up being beautiful weather right after. It just like sucks all the crap out, and we end up with a beautiful day like we have out there. So yeah, we've got a tour out there now. Another one that just came back, and hopefully we see you soon down here in Key West at Lazy Dog. You can check us out at lazydog.com.